There was a time when energy was a dirty word, when turning on your lights was a hard choice. Cities in brownout, food shortages, cars burning fuel to run. But that was the past. Where are we now? How did we make the world so much better? Make deserts bloom. Right now, we're the largest producer of fusion energy in the world. The energy of the sun, trapped in rock, harvested by machine from the far side of the moon. Today, we deliver enough clean-burning helium-3 to supply the energy needs of nearly 70% of the planet. Who'd have thought? All the energy we ever needed, right above our heads. The power of the moon. The power of our future.
Right then, Hot Wampa episode 44. What a nightmare this one's been in the making. Tech issues. My name's Dave.
I'm Mark.
And we're your hosts for this, later in the day than usual planned episode of Hot Wampa, really. We've had a few technical issues in recording today. Hopefully we'll still get the show to you okay, though. Interesting show. Not got much in housekeeping, have you, mate?
Not really. I mean, thanks to Stephen Waterhouse again. He came up with a couple of tags, didn't he?
Yeah, he found a story about Carrie Fisher possibly appearing in episode 9 using footage of the late Carrie Fisher and inserting it into the movie, I think is what they were planning to do, sort of Terminator Salvation style.
Yeah.
I think Disney, though, have denied that story. We were going to cover that story, actually. We were all set up and good to go on it, weren't we?
Yeah, it was her brother, wasn't it, who was speaking about it. You recorded a bit of audio on that, didn't you?
Yeah, we were good to go on that one, but we're going to have to ditch that story because, like I said, there is other news reports out there now that are contradicting that. Still grateful to Stephen for sending that our way, though. I mean, he's become a bit like our sort of Guardian correspondent, hasn't he? Any news comes up in that and he tags us to let us know about it.
He's out there in the field.
He is out there in the field. We have eyes and ears everywhere, so we're certainly grateful for that, but it does look like that might be a bit of a non-story, so we're going to leave that alone for now. Like you said, not much else in housekeeping. I guess we might as well just crack straight into some Star Wars.
Yeah, let's get in there.
Okay, we predicted on the last standalone episode of Hot Wampa that we would get a trailer coming up in Star Wars Celebration, which is in Orlando. We got one Friday, 4 p.m. UK time. I'm not sure what time that was in the United States. I believe it was around 11, 12 o'clock. They had a Last Jedi panel with Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy hosting it, and some guy who was pretty obnoxious as a host. I can't remember what the guy's name, Chad something or other. I'm not too kind about him anyway. And they discussed The Last Jedi a little bit, and they brought on various guests. They had Daisy Ridley come on, and John Boyega, and even BB-8 was rolling on stage at one stage. And some little Oriental lady who's appearing in the movie. I believe her name may be Rose or something, although I stand to be corrected on that.
Yeah, that's the character, Rose, played by Kelly Marie Tran.
Kelly Marie Tran, yeah.
Yeah.
She was in that panel too. And the panel was sort of a good hour, and the host was incredible. The guests were fine, but the host, the Chad guy, he was incredibly irritating and prattles on about it. Eventually, towards the end, after teasing the audience quite a bit, they actually got around to delivering us the Last Jedi trailer, which you've already seen by now because basically it's clogged up the internet. I actually watched the panel live on YouTube through the Star Wars YouTube channel and recorded both the audio from the panel and my own audio from the microphone, almost like a commentary whilst I was watching it. And yeah, you'll have to sit through a little bit of this. It's around 20 minutes or so until we get to the trailer, but you can enjoy my commentary during the Last Jedi panel at Celebration in Orlando until we get to the trailer. And my thoughts on the host, well, we can give that to you now. Okay, today's date is Friday the 14th of April 2017. I currently have YouTube set up to live stream the Last Jedi panel from Star Wars Celebration in Orlando. What I'm going to do is I'm using my virtual mixer to record the audio direct from YouTube and also record the audio direct from my microphone. So hopefully I can get at least some of the Last Jedi panel and my own commentary recorded. And if there is going to be a trailer to The Last Jedi announced at this panel, well, my reaction literally is going to be live. So let's go to Orlando from the comfort of my own studio here in Ely. Here's the presenter, Josh Gad, up on stage talking to the crowd.
There is nothing like that kind of anticipation that everyone was feeling. And you can feel that anticipation right now in this room.
Certainly is a lot of anticipation.
What happens next? The Last Jedi! The Last Jedi! What
Yeah,
does
get
it
on
all
with it.
mean?
We want a trailer.
We have questions. They have answers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, and the writer-director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson.
Okay, so Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson have now taken to the celebration stage.
I mean, can I just call you the Dream Maker, Kathy? It's unbelievable.
Come on, get on with it. We want some of The Last Jedi. And a trailer.
It's all for you. Stand up.
This is, you guys are the best. Made me feel so good, so thank you.
Yes, we are, so get on with the trailer.
Incredible. I always love, like, when I see pictures like this is Skellig, right?
That's Skellig.
And Dingle.
Yeah,
the
that's...
fact that we're in Dingle.
Are the locals there, like, amazed by, do they, like, look out the window and like, there's Luke Skywalker holding a lightsaber, I can't possibly do my homework, Papa. That's a terrible Irish.
Apologize to any locals who are actually watching.
That's the worst ever Irish accent.
Yeah, well, it was. I'll tell you, man, because we were up and down the west coast of Ireland, and
empowered heroines. Speaking of strong, empowered heroines, 2 years ago at Celebration in Anaheim, we were introduced to a new heroine, a new face who has now become part of the iconic Star Wars lexicon, someone I've had the pleasure of working with, getting
Daisy
to know
Ridley,
and
perhaps?
harassing on a daily basis. Please welcome Daisy Ridley!
Yeah. Looking rather fetching in red and orange.
My heart is pounding. Thank you so much.
Oh, hello, Newman.
Hello, you.
Daisy. I would love to put the past behind us. It's not about my questions anymore. It's about their questions now. You don't owe me anything.
They've called Daisy Ridley up on stage with the host Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, but there's still 3 or 4 chairs free on the stage, so hopefully we'll see some more of the cast from The Last Jedi coming up there.
Questions I'd like to ask you, up to you whether or not you want to answer. Are you and Luke related by blood? No to that one. Okay. Are you a Skywalker? Is your name Ray Skywalker? Your name Ray Kenobi?
That's a popular answer, clearly.
Who doesn't know their own last name? Could you imagine if I went up to you and I said, my entire name is Josh, good to meet you? Are you like the Madonna?
I'd probably ignore you, mate.
Okay. All right. I see we're getting nowhere. Daisy. So I'll start off
she's
with
out
a
of your
simple
league.
question. Daisy, did you enjoy working on The Last Jedi?
Look at me there. That's cool. Do you know, I actually can tell you some things. Yeah. Yeah. A small amount I have for you. What I can say is, in The Last Jedi...
She won't answer any questions. Put it away. All right, without divulging too much, obviously, what are you most excited about for fans to experience in The Last Jedi?
I think what we're all very excited for. Luke's first words.
Kathleen Kennedy's sitting there like a hawk as if to say, yeah, don't say anything you shouldn't do.
True. In addition to
Look on her face, honestly.
Introduce other talented newcomers to the world. 2 years ago, we met another star for the very first time at the celebration.
Got to be John Boyega, surely.
After a massively successful on-screen debut and a world press tour, who doesn't recognize this celebrity? Returning to the Star Wars celebration, please welcome BB-8.
Oh. So now we've got BB-8 rolling on stage.
As you remember, you and I were talking...
I hope BB-8 shocks the host here.
Right? Got a couple of questions for you. First off, how are you today, 8? Do you mind if I call you 8? Oh.
Go on, shock him.
JJ's editors who told me you can't have enough BB-8. And we followed their advice. He's the Buster Keaton of this movie now. No, he's I'm excited for you guys to see what he does in this movie. It's pretty fun.
Incredible. All right. He has become one of the most recognizable faces in the world after his Star Wars performance in The Force Awakens. Please welcome everyone's favorite former stormtrooper.
Ah, now we've got John Boyega.
John Boyega!
Seems to have a black armband on. I guess that's, I don't know, respect to somebody. Dressed in white and black like a stormtrooper.
I mean, John?
Oh my God!
Star Wars universe.
You know,
Come on, give us a trailer.
I'm going to tell you right now. It's just, it's incredible. I mean, I think so many people tell you what this is going to be like, and then you get on the stage and you just hear so much excitement and so much love for this thing that you get to be a part of, and I just want to do it justice. So thank you, everyone, for letting me be here.
Yeah. And now, a man who plays one of the most iconic characters in film history. The one, the only, Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. Short hair, but with his beard.
They provided me all my ad libs, which is good for me. I love you back.
Looking a little heavy there, actually.
I love you. They saw you yesterday. You're just like old hat at this now. You're doing this every day.
Dressed all in black.
I never get used to it, you know.
Looking very dapper.
I said, really? I turn and remove my hood. That's it.
Then I joked about a big, long speech that was cut at the last minute. See, I lost total credibility with the public through social media because I lie all the time. And I post, an exclusive look at an episode 8 trailer, and it's a picture of my trailer on the back lot, what my kids call dad humor. So this year, someone said, are you going to post one of your classic April Fool's jokes? And I said, absolutely not. So believe any outrageous, crazy, or absurd notion I post that day. I can't get away with it anymore. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Nobody believes me. That's why on this a gift and something that I will never take for granted. So thank you all so much.
All right. I would say that this crowd has been unbelievably generous and patient. So I'm going to ask Ryan, do you have anything that you brought today for the fans?
Come on, give us a trailer. Stop teasing.
So I want to show you guys this. I'm so excited and happy about this. We have a teaser poster that is... No.
Wait a second. I just want to reenact for everybody at home. This is what we heard. Just stabbing in the back.
When you guys see that, so can we put it up? It is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, great looking teaser poster though. Ray on a red background, hold up a lightsaber. Now that does look cool.
I gotta soak that in.
Isn't that beautiful? Oh my God.
And you know what? These guys have not seen this either, so they are looking back over their shoulder because they're seeing it for the first time.
That is very, very cool. All right, well that does it, guys. Thank you so much for coming.
First of all, important to know, every single one of you sitting out there gets one of those.
Great. What about every one of us sitting elsewhere in the world that would like a trailer? Come on.
But I'm sorry to say that I don't think we can get Ryan to stay up all night and sign every single one, so I hope you understand that.
Maybe.
This has been an absolute thrill. Is there anything else you want to...
Oh, come on. I'm not interested in you, mate.
They seem like they're really interested in more.
Now the Last Jedi logo's up on the big screen behind the panel. Come on, give us a trailer.
Anything?
There's a trailer. Of course there's a trailer. What are you talking about?
Come on. Get in.
So I want you guys to know, this is also going to be these guys' first time seeing this trailer. We're going to go over
I haven't seen it.
with you together. Let's do this.
They're all standing up now.
Where are we going?
This way.
Over here, Kat.
No, this,
I
Kathy,
did lines for the trailer and I haven't even seen
you had
this
to come to
footage.
rehearsal. It was this.
Oh, we're going this way.
It's now darkening. Come on. Stars. Lucasfilm logo. Just seen Ray on the ground. Luke's retreat.
Just breathe. Now, reach out. What do you see?
Light.
Darkness.
A balance.
It's so much bigger.
Looked like a long distance shot there of Luke overseeing Rey's training. Some weird vehicles trailing red smoke. The Falcon's just shot down a ship of some sort. Whoa. Resistance fleet.
The Jedi. To end.
There you go. I guess the crowd likes it.
Thank you guys so
Well, I don't think they gave us too much in that trailer.
I am so proud of this cast and crew and everything. I'm so proud of this movie. I cannot wait for the coming year to show you guys more and more and to show you the movie eventually. That'll happen eventually. Right now, though, all I want to do is watch the trailer in this room with you guys one more time.
Oh, here comes the second run.
Guys, thank you so much. Much more to come.
Whether we'll get to see that or not, I don't know.
Thank you, Celebration.
I guess that's it from the Last Jedi. Oh no, we are getting the trailer again. Okay, rocks. Rey's on the ground on that Irish island. Lucasfilm logo.
Breathe.
The island from a distance across the waves.
Just breathe. Now.
I guess this is Rey undergoing tutoring. Lifting stones from the ground, using the Force, I guess.
What do you see?
A little bit of the music there was Rey's theme.
Darkness.
That'll get the Grey Jedi conspiracy theorists at it. What looks like a chart or a picture.
It's so much bigger.
Again, Luke is overlooking Rey, and there's 3 people in that scene. These vehicles with red smoke trailing behind them. Finn in some sort of hospital gurney thing. Again, the Falcon. Beautiful shots. Kylo Ren. The Resistance fleet, or what looks like a fleet.
It's time.
Very reminiscent of the old medical frigates.
To end.
And back to the logo. So where's Snoke? Where's Snokey boy? Whoa. Is that the end now? Is that the end of the panel?
It's day 2 of the Star Wars show live from Star Wars Celebration 2017 in
I
Orlando.
guess it is.
Today is the day you've been waiting for. In just a few minutes, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy is going to be...
Okay, we finally got a Last Jedi trailer. Yeah, they took the time about it, teased us a few times, and we even got quite a cool poster as well.
Yeah, the poster's great, isn't it? It's really 80s looking.
That sort of really deep red and stuff. There's already variations of it appearing online. I've seen one where like one side of it's in red and one side of it's in blue, I suppose, to symbolise the light and the dark. I mean, these things come out within 5 minutes. Someone's got Photoshop around them and making their own versions, aren't they?
Yeah.
You've seen the trailer, the same as everyone. What do you think?
Well, I've watched it probably a dozen times now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I like the sound in the background. You know, I love the little clips where you can hear, I guess it's the back of Carrie Fisher we see, isn't it, in like a map room.
It looks very much like her, yeah.
And you hear her say, help me, Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like in the background. Things like, there are little sound clips, Darth Vader's mask again, and the sort of breathing.
Is it Darth Vader's mask or is it Kylo Ren's?
It could be, couldn't it? Yeah, because we do see him later in the trailer without a mask again.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I have to say, I was slightly underwhelmed with the trailer, mainly because of the excitement I guess with The Force Awakens and then Rogue One. As this is a continuing story, I didn't feel like so excited.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a bad trailer in any way. I'm just saying that it does seem a bit downbeat and a bit like the sort of Resistance and the Jedi are, on their last legs in a way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot we can extrapolate from this trailer. I think, like you say, we've had to wait a little while for this one. And I think we were perhaps hoping it to be a bit more spectacular and perhaps give us a little bit more. I was a bit disappointed by the absence of Snoke, but then I think they've cottoned on to the fact that the fans are interested in Snoke. So they're going to tease that one out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Like you say, I also noticed the background dialogue, sort of the Help Me Obi-Wan, and the sort of subtle voices dubbed into the background and the audio on the trailer. There's a few nods to things that are in that trailer, Easter eggs. There's one theory currently circulating the internet. I don't know if you'd noticed, but that looks like at some stage it shows you like a chart with a star on it, like an old-fashioned type of maritime chart or something.
That's right. It looks like I don't know, something like the Last Starfighter. That emblem, but it is kind of like the same as that's on the poster, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's almost like an ancient scroll or something. The story or the rumor that's doing the rounds is that's part of the Book of Wills.
Right.
As in the Guardians of the Wills, which of course we're familiar with from Rogue One. Whether it is or not, I don't know. The scene where you see Rey and Luke from a distance and they're training like on the cliffs, there's actually 3 people in that scene. I'm speculating that one of them is Chewie.
Yeah. Also, I guess we see the Millennium Falcon later on, don't we?
Yeah.
I guess it's Chewie. R2-D2 maybe, but who else? Because as we know, John Boyega is incapacitated. So
yeah, he's getting wheeled around in that chamber thing. I mean, I get the impression that from Mark Hamill's dialogue in that trailer that he's basically had enough of the Jedi, or he doesn't see the Jedi way as the way forward anymore. Perhaps he's just a bit despondent because the Knights of Ren have slaughtered his students or what have you. He's in exile, but I'm wondering if he's thinking that it's neither a case of the light or the dark, or just the grey is the way forward, is something that they're going to try and explore with it.
Yeah, and perhaps Rey is the one there who's going to change his mind again.
Possibly. She might be the thing that redeems him. There's a lot of different nods in that trailer, if you do notice them. What did you notice about the scene where Poe Dameron's running into the hangar towards his X-Wing and it explodes?
Well, he's with BB-8, isn't he? And,
he's with BB-8, but his BB-8's going to run with him. That's his astromech droid.
I didn't notice anything, Dave, in that part. And, I mean, I've seen it a number of times, as I said, but apart from the exploding X-Wing, what did you notice?
Well, if you pause it next time, if you look to both the left and the right of that exploding left X-Wing, there's A-Wings parked in that hangar as well.
Right.
Nice little nod. I think the one to the left, you can see the sort of rear end of the engines, like the sort of the tail fin and the circle over the engines. And the one on the other side of the screen, you can see part of the nose to the A-Wing. There's also, if you freeze one of the frames in a space battle where there's X-Wings and stuff going past those bigger ships in space, you can actually see an A-Wing in that scene. But it looks a little bit different to the conventional A-Wings from Return of the Jedi. It looks a bit of a cross between an A-Wing and a Jedi starfighter from the prequel movie. So quite what that is, I don't know. Other nods I can give you in there that I've picked out through going through it frame by frame in my video editor. Did you notice the bit with the, I don't know what they are, whether they're air speeders or something, there's a whole group of them, comes down close to the ground and they've got like a beam or a keel of some sort underneath them that strikes the ground, yeah?
Yeah, and the red dust comes up from the surface.
Yeah, that disturbs the ground. And like you say, obviously there's something that's deeply red underneath the surface that their proximity to the ground disturbs that you can't normally see. Did you notice anything else in that scene?
Other than the walkers coming towards them.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're heading towards on the horizon. I had to watch that 6 or 7 times before I clocked that, but yeah, there's AT-AT walkers in there as well.
So that could be like a Hoth battle or something like that, couldn't it?
It's possibly trying to pay a bit of homage here to the Empire Strikes Back. I've nicknamed those air speeders or whatever they are, the Red Arrows.
Oh, that's not a bad name.
Because they're trailing red smoke, obviously, so I thought that would be appropriate. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of thinking that you can extrapolate from the trailer. But I think we had hoped it would be a bit more extravagant after having to wait this long. But who knows? Perhaps we'll get something special as the year goes on in terms of the trailer and everything.
I think we've been spoilt this year so far with trailers, Dave. Like War for the Planet of the Apes trailer, I really like that. I thought that was great. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 trailer was really good fun. Thor Ragnarok came out last week and that was really good. And Spider-Man Homecoming, and they're all sort of big movies that are coming out this year. So I guess whereas before, the Force Awakens trailer just blew everything out of the way.
Yeah, I think that's possibly because of familiarity though, because we're already familiar with the characters and some of the locations and stuff from the Force Awakens, so we're not as surprised by it with this trailer perhaps.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that sort of impact value as it was. I think, like you say, a little bit underwhelmed, but I still liked it and I'm still optimistic for where it's going. I did quite like the visuals and the special effects in the space battle, and like that bit with the speeders or the red arrows. That was amazing to look at. I am looking forward to it. I think pretty much, unless you've got more in the trailer, that's all I've got on it.
No, but I'll be interested to see, what Rian Johnson does here, because he's not, apart from Looper, he's not really a sci-fi film director, but
No.
He was very popular with his episodes of Breaking Bad, which is a series I haven't really seen, and also his first one was Brick, which is like a teen murder mystery, which was fantastic.
So he's kind of coming in from more of a television background, really.
Yeah.
Star Wars seems to be moving so fast. It's almost like Rogue One's forgotten about, and yet it was only a week ago we got it on home release here.
Yeah. That's right.
And it's kind of disappeared into the dust underneath all that, hasn't it? I know our American cousins have, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, probably been dissecting it and the bonus features and all the rest of it, but we've only had it about a week now. I've watched the movie on Blu-ray. I got it on the Monday. I have watched it on Blu-ray at home, but I've not even had a chance to go through the bonus features yet. But Star Wars seems to be moving so quick. It's like I said, Rogue One was released a week ago, and we've got a trailer, and all of a sudden Rogue One seems like ancient history. Christ, it was only in the cinemas at Christmas.
Yeah, it's not that long ago.
Yeah, everything just seems to be moving so fast at the moment. I've still not had a chance to see the season finale for season 3 of Rebels, so I don't know what's happened there, whether Sky's decided to misbehave on me, so it hasn't recorded the last 2 episodes. Sky Plus is so unpredictable like that, isn't it?
It is, yeah, you're right. I'd sort of recalled Supergirl, The Walking Dead, Blind Spot, and yeah, you're right. It seems that seasons just finish, somewhere and don't begin again on your Skybox, and it can be really frustrating.
Yeah, they need to sort this out. Have you got anything else for Star Wars?
Well, I was really impressed by the new Star Wars Battlefront 2 trailer.
Okay.
And we do follow a character. And because I loved the first one, especially for the visuals and the music, but it didn't have like a one-player game with a story mode, so it seemed like you were just all piling in arcade fun. It was great. But this one, we're following a new fighter, and she looks like a member of the Inferno Squad. And
okay.
She's on Endor, it looks like, when the Return of the Jedi Death Star explodes, and you can hear the Emperor's voice, and she's listening to him. And she wants to get revenge on the rebels. So it looks like you play a member of the Inferno Squad, which is quite a coincidence because there's a novel coming out in the summer, isn't there, for the Inferno Squad?
Yeah, they always seem to do these tie-ins. It's like the Republic Commando video game ended up having characters that went into novels and stuff. So they do sort of do these crossovers. What was it? Force Unleashed? Not Force. Yeah, Force Unleashed, wasn't it?
Force Unleashed, yeah, 1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah, character, I think it was Starkiller. That ended up having tie-in novels and toys and merchandise and stuff. So they do kind of make, I don't know, like a project of it. I think it's not just a video game. Yeah, to me, they're still trying to, I don't know, they're still falling short of the original Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 for me. I know they've got a new Knights of the Old Republic or an Old Republic, which is like an MMO thing, but that doesn't really appeal to me. I don't know, there's sort of a standard there. They're still not quite reaching,
Well, this one, it says here, Dave, it will tell a canon story of Imperial revenge.
Okay.
and have also Last Jedi downloadable content. I've seen
Well,
Rogue
hasn't the
One
current one got downloadable from Rogue One?
Yeah, it has, and this one has as well. The character you're playing here is Iden Versio, her name.
Okay.
And, in the trailer, you see her take her sort of helmet off. And that seems to be becoming quite familiar now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
After Finn doing that. But yeah, it looks, visually, it's on the same consoles as Battlefront 1. But visually, it just seems like a next generation. It's fantastic to look at. I put the trailer up on our Facebook page. So if our listeners would like to have a look at that and get back to us any opinions. But hopefully this is, I'm not asking for violence, but I'm just asking for a bit more. I don't know. When I was playing the original, it didn't really feel like I was actually, harming the other players. I know it sounds a bit wrong, but it just seemed a bit too. He's down. That's it. So.
Yeah, a bit impersonal.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
You wanted to take them out at point blank with the bayonet and see the whites of their eyes, did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Savage. What's the name of this character you're playing again?
It's a female character called Iden Versio.
Iden Versio.
And she's played by an actress called Janina Ganvankar.
Yes, it sounds like a make of Italian lingerie.
It does. Well, Intermissimi, or something like that.
Yeah.
And this game involves Operation Cinder, which fans will recognise from some of the new canon content.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do see Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren, and others, and Darth Maul in the trailer. So it'd be great to play as those characters.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see what happens and what comes of that.
I'm looking forward to buying it. It comes out in November, ready for Christmas, like a lot of these things do.
Yeah, and that'll be the end of your year sorted.
Yeah, it will be, yeah.
You'll be hibernating all winter on that.
What about Gareth Edwards? I don't think we spoke about that. The Rogue One director. He's got a cameo, apparently, in The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know when... I didn't know anything about that. I don't know when that's going to turn up.
Yeah, no word of which character he's playing. Probably another stormtrooper like Gary Barlow or someone like that,
oh, please. I hope he's not in it. I want to know if you could buy an edit where they've cut him out like a special edition. Or better still, like you've just mentioned the video game, why not have him as a downloadable character so you can kill him multiple times? Stab him in the back, shoot him in the back of the head, sell him out to the Empire or the Rebels, and just any way you can sort of get rid of him. Can you imagine the potential for videos on YouTube set to a bit of Take That music of people doing that?
Yeah, I can. Could it be magic?
Yeah, it would be magic if you could do. Okay, I think, especially considering the audio I've got to include from my viewing experience of the Last Jedi panel at Celebration in Orlando, I think we might as well close off on Star Wars because I think that's going to take enough time out of the episode, really.
Yeah, and after this week, I think people are Star Wars'd out for a week.
Yeah, it's funny though. I mean, like I said, being able to watch Rogue One at home, I still find it just as emotional towards the end.
Yeah,
I think it's quite a beautiful film emotionally, and that's because I had the soundtrack a few months ago. I'm sort of conversing in the music fluently before I am in the experience of rewatching the film multiple times. And the sort of music at the end, I think it's called on the soundtrack, it's Your Father Would Be Proud. Giacchino's score, and it's the music that plays when the Death Star fires on Scarif and everything lights up and there's Diego Luna and Felicity Jones there and I just think it's a beautiful scene and beautifully shot.
I mean, we knew it was coming, didn't we? These characters probably weren't going to last the movie. And as it's a standalone film, I think, we got to know them quite quickly and there were some really lovable characters in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, really good characters in it. So yeah, I think it still has that value. We're dry on Star Wars. Let's move on to Showcase.
Of all the podcasts in the galaxy, Hot Wampa is the most human.
Orders! Hup!
Okay, Moon. Not Button Moon. The movie Moon. Let's give them my audio, shall we?
Okay.
Moon is a 2009 British science fiction drama film, co-written and directed by Duncan Jones. The film follows Sam Bell, played by Sam Rockwell, a man who experiences a personal crisis as he nears the end of a 3-year solitary stint mining helium-3 on the far side of the Moon. It was the feature debut of director Duncan Jones. Kevin Spacey voices Sam's robot companion Gertie. Moon premiered at the 2009 Sundance Film Festival and was released in selected cinemas in New York and Los Angeles on the 12th of June 2009. The release was expanded to additional theatres in the United States and Toronto on both the 3rd and 10th of July, and to the United Kingdom on the 17th of July. Moon was modestly budgeted and grossed just under 10 million worldwide, but was well received by critics. Rockwell's performance found praise, as did the film's scientific realism and plausibility. It won numerous film critic and film festival awards and was nominated for the BAFTA Award for Best British Film. Plot summary to Moon. In 2035, Lunar Industries has made a fortune after an oil crisis by building Soham Station, an automated lunar facility to mine the alternative fuel helium-3 from moon rocks, rich in the material. The facility is fully automated, requiring only a single human to maintain operations, oversee the harvesters and launch canisters bound for Earth containing the extracted helium-3. Currently, Sam Bell nears the end of his 3-year work contract at Soham Station. Chronic communication problems have disabled his live feed from Earth and limit him to occasional recorded messages from his wife Tess, who was pregnant with their daughter Eve when he left. His only companion is an artificial intelligence named Gertie, who assists with the base automation and provides comfort for him. 2 weeks before his return to Earth, Sam suffers from hallucinations of a teenage girl. One such image distracts him while he is out recovering a helium-3 canister from a harvester, causing him to crash his lunar rover into the harvester. Rapidly losing cabin air from the crash, Sam falls unconscious in the rover. Sam awakes in the base infirmary with no memory of the accident. He overhears Gertie receiving instructions from Lunar Industries to prevent him from leaving the base and to wait for the arrival of a rescue team. His suspicions aroused, he manufactures a fake problem to persuade Gertie to let him outside. He travels to the crashed rover where he finds his unconscious doppelganger. He brings the double back to the base and tends to his injuries. The two Sams start to wonder if one is a clone of the other. After a heated argument and physical altercation, they together coerce Gertie into revealing that they are both clones of the original Sam Bell. Gertie activated the newest clone after the rover crash and convinced him that he was at the beginning of his 3-year contract. The two Sams searched the facility, discovering a secret vault containing hundreds of hibernating clones. They determined that Lunar Industries is unethically using clones of the original Sam Bell to avoid the cost of new astronauts. The elder Sam drives past the interference radius in a second rover and tries to call Tess on Earth. He instead makes contact with Eve, now 15 years old, who says Tess died some years ago. He hangs up when Eve tells her father, who's identified off screen as the original Sam in closed captioning, that someone is calling regarding Tess. The two Sams realise that the incoming rescue team will kill them both if they are found together. The newer Sam convinces Gertie to revive another clone, planning to leave the revived clone's corpse in the crashed rover and send the older Sam to Earth in one of the helium-3 transports. But the older Sam, with his health declining, knows that he will not live much longer. He has learned that the clones are designed to break down at the end of the 3-year contract, their bodies disposed of under the guise of sending them back to Earth in different pods to the helium-3 transports. He suggests the younger Sam leave instead. The older Sam plans to die by the crashed rover, so Lunar Industries will not suspect anything until it's too late. Following Gertie's advice, the younger Sam reboots Gertie to wipe its records of the events. Before leaving, the younger clone programs a harvester to crash and wreck a jamming antenna, thereby enabling live communications with Earth. The older Sam, back in the crippled rover, remains conscious long enough to watch the launch of the transport carrying the younger Sam to Earth. The transport arrives at Earth, and over the film's credits, news reports describe how Sam's testimony on Lunar Industries' activities has stirred up an enormous controversy, and the company's unethical practices have plummeted the company's stock. Moon then, Mark, your impressions, your recollections. What do you think of Moon?
Well, I didn't see it at the cinema, unfortunately.
No, neither did I.
It was a film I would like to have seen. But I remember asking my friend Filthy to buy me a copy at Christmas, I think it was, on DVD. Not this Christmas, but several years ago. And he turned up with a copy of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker and I used a black marker pen to scrub out Walker. So I wasn't best pleased with that gift. But what do I think of Moon? I mean, I love Duncan Jones. I think his work, apart from Warcraft, has been fantastic so far. Sam Rockwell, we've covered him a few times recently, but the sense of isolation and sort of desperation, I think is fantastic in this.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to compare Sam Rockwell's performance in this with the other two films we've covered recently.
No. This is a fine acting piece.
It's a fine acting piece. It's a serious film. There's nothing comedic about Moon. And the way he acts it is different as well. I mean, you mentioned Duncan Jones there, didn't he? He used to be a commercial director.
He did, yeah, and he used a lot of his experience, didn't he, from commercials for special effects and stuff.
Well, I guess he's used to trying to produce something that looks pretty good on a pretty narrow budget. And Moon, I think, visually looks, whilst it doesn't look visually complicated, I think it looks absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
The way it's shot, the lighting, the shade, the lunar dust, the motion of things across the moon, sunlight coming in through the windows, the light and the dark, the pallor of the declining Sam Bell's clone's health as it ages rapidly to death. And I just think, even Gertie, something so simple, and yet they get so much character in it just by having that emoji thing in the screen that's either smiling or frowning, or it reflects its mood. I don't know, I think it's just shot marvellously.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, the twist element, I don't think was much of a surprise to me. But that didn't make me dislike the film anymore. The clone saga, the clone elements, I think has been touched on and done many times. But we did feel for these clones and wondered what we knew they had a short lifespan. And there's a lot of morals involved in it, isn't there? Would it work creating humans that, would just be out there working for us?
Yeah, I mean, the story isn't complicated. I think we can see where the story's going right from the moment we realise all of a sudden there's two Sam Bells here. I think, you can start to put the pieces together and start to get a rough idea about what's going on. And it's the typical thing about corporate greed, or the corporation is at fault again, which is so often the theme with so many sort of up and coming and, quite politicised, quite intellectual filmmakers. Duncan Jones is David Bowie's son, isn't he?
He is David Bowie's son. He was christened, I don't know if he was christened, but he was born Zowie Bowie. And
okay.
Fortunately, Duncan was a name that they came up with a few months later. Interesting fact about Duncan Jones. I don't know whether I should actually tell you this, but he was actually a student at the college that I teach at in the 90s doing his A-levels. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's a little fact in Cambridge. So
you didn't get to teach him then?
I didn't know. It was way before I was teaching, but I don't know whether it'd be nice to see, if David Bowie popped in to see how's my son Duncan doing? Just imagine him singing a few songs on the guitar.
Well, it's not going to happen now, is it?
No, it's not going to happen now.
Bless him. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really heard much of Duncan Jones prior to Moon, and to be honest, I've not really heard much afterwards. Perhaps it's something I should have looked at more going into this podcast. I think it's quite... Yeah, I think you've got to give Duncan Jones credit for this, though. And I think he's not been scared to pull in a lot of different elements. Almost, he wasn't scared to make the film a little bit left field. The composer of the score, Clint Mansell, didn't he used to be a member of Pop Will Eat Itself?
I didn't know that. That's a fact you pulled up.
I believe he may well be. By all means, if anyone knows whether he was or not, they stand to correct me. But I believe he was part of a pop band before Pop Will Eat Itself, or anti-pop band, whatever you want to call it. So it's almost like he wasn't scared to pull in people that perhaps weren't the industry norm, but, give them a go with this film. I think Duncan Jones was prepared to take a few risks with this, and I think those risks have paid off, because I think it all seems to pull together and work quite well.
It does. I mean, yeah, sorry, Dave, you are right. It was Pop Will Eat Itself. He's
Okay.
actually, born in Coventry. He's 54 now. But, also famous for Requiem for a Dream, The Hole.
Black Swan.
Black Swan, that's right. Sahara, which was a bit of a flop. The Fountain, so Darren Aronofsky films. So, yeah, he's got a good CV here.
He's done a few there, yeah. But all the same, the guy's origins were a little bit out there in terms of it. I mean, for the budget, it goes to show as well that it isn't necessarily, you don't need billions to make a good film. Perhaps it helps, but you don't need to make that blockbuster to make a film compelling and enjoyable, I think, to the mainstream. It was modestly budgeted. The commercial success of the film was modest. It made a profit, albeit a small one. But I think it goes to show what people can do if their heart's in something without a lot of funds and resources.
And I think everything fell into place with Duncan Jones with this one because it was the time of the writers' strike, and there were lots of people sort of walking around the studio not working. And I believe the guy he got to do the miniatures had built the Nostromo for Alien, and he was available. And he said, "Yeah, I'll give you a hand." And it was like, "Oh, thanks." And so some really talented people worked on this film for next to nothing, just as favours.
Yeah, sort of turned up on a few hours on a Sunday afternoon because they had nothing else to do, basically.
That's it. So
and brought that to the movie. I mean, it does say in my note here, the films pay homage to the films of Jones's youth, such as Silent Run in Alien and Outland.
Yeah, there's also is it Solent Green? There's in the galley on the shelf. It's marked Solent. So yeah, and I think he had a lot of little references in the movie, and it was shot in 33 days, which is incredibly short.
Yeah. Which the funny thing is, I mean, it must be quite a confined set they shot it on, and once you've watched it a few times, you can see where they're using the same room but lighting it or filming from a different angle. You can see kind of where they're reusing and making the biggest bang for the buck out of the set they had. Was it Shepperton? I think it's Shepperton, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And you can see it, but on the whole, I don't think you really notice it. And I do think you get the impression that the base, Sarang Station, whatever it's called, is actually quite a bit bigger than what you see.
Yeah, but I guess as a space base on the moon, it's going to be quite confined anyway, isn't it? So I think it might just add to that feeling that there's not much to see here, and you're walking around the same areas every day.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, that's kind of something I like about the film. It starts in a very mundane place. I mean, you've got the audio about the sort of lunar industries promotion thing, about Earth's energy crisis, helium-free, supplying 70% of the... Well, I'll stick that at the front of the podcast anyway, so people are familiar with it. And then it goes into sort of Clint Mansell's piano score, and we see Sam Bell running on the treadmill, and that comes out through the window out to the base and stuff. And I like the way the film starts off without some sort of spectacular dramatic moment. It's every day in his life. He's exercising, he's getting his Skype messages from what he believes to be his wife back on Earth. He's going out and retrieving canisters from the harvesters, etc., etc. I like the fact that it kind of focuses on the fact that it's some working guy every day, and it doesn't come in with some sort of massive extravagant thing, and then it kind of unfolds as it goes along. Yes, you can see where the plot's going. I think you get a good idea about that early on, but I like the fact that it gets there at its own sort of pedestrian pace without it still taking too long, and you kind of enjoy that. You don't, you kind of filled in the whole way through.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting with Gertie, isn't it? I think that's a really nice relationship between the two, and the computer's obviously there to help Sam. And which he does in the end, doesn't he? The computer's on his side, unlike Hal in 2001, where the computer's sort of creating all kinds of havoc.
Well, in 2001, I think it's open to interpretation as to who is actually in control of how. Yeah, Gertie. That's a funny one because it's a company computer. You imagine it's probably revitalised. Sam claims they got a life expectancy. His wife was supposed to have died 15 years ago. The life expectancy 3 years. I mean, I imagine Gertie has probably been through at least 5 clones of Sam.
Yeah.
Reviving on a 3-year cycle, reviving one, sticking one in the oven, reviving another one, and so on. So Gertie obviously has an idea about what to do, but Gertie's primary role is obviously to assist with the latest Sam as such during his work tour. But it's almost like at the end, Gertie, I don't know, do you think there is character there, or is it just following a simple piece of programming? Do you think, I like to think there's a bit of character there. That
I do too, yeah.
A bit of compassion for the character of Sam Bell.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, obviously it follows its procedures, but there is a sort of hope that the computer really wants him to succeed in his quest at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Spacey's brilliant in this, isn't he? I think he done it almost as a favour also, and recorded his dialogue in one afternoon. And Duncan Jones said if he couldn't get Kevin Spacey, he wanted Christopher Walken. Not many people know that Kevin Spacey is a really good impressionist, so he read like 20 lines as Christopher Walken to show him how ridiculous it would be. So that's quite funny.
Just to give him that idea.
Yeah.
What do we think of Sam Rockwell's acting performance in this?
I think you're sensitive to him, you know, even when you find out, when he realises the truth, you're kind of really, how much does that feel? And can he feel the same as we feel? You know, and I think that's what clones are all about, and the morals behind it.
Do you think the two different incarnations of Sam Bell that we see in the film, the one who's coming to the end of his 3-year life cycle or his term at the start of the film that crashes the rover, or the one that Gertie revives immediately afterwards, are different characters?
Yeah, they are different. They
feel
different.
Totally different, don't they? I mean, I know they're physically different. One's older and in a physical breakdown as a result of the fact his life, his expectancy, like a replicant almost, isn't he? His expiry is coming up, and he's personally breaking down as a result of that. And the other one is obviously recently revived. He's still a strong, healthy clone as such. Obviously, that's going to influence the way they come across, and Sam Rockwell had to transition in acting between the two. But I do actually feel like they're both slightly different characters to each other. I think the only time the two of them sort of marry together and you realise that it is kind of the same character is towards the end, when the dying clone is telling the new clone that, look, you can't kill an extra revived clone. I know that you can't do it because I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the bit where you realise that inside there perhaps are both the same, but they do almost seem like two opposing characters, don't they?
Well, physically opposing as well. They have a little ruckus together, don't they? So
yeah, they have a tussle, which, I mean, the younger one comes out the dominant on that, but he's going to I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I don't know if they had a stand-in as they filmed the scenes for the other Sam Rockwell in the scene, or whether it was just to a cutout or to a cue on a board or what have you. But considering he's acting against himself, he's not acting against another actor or actress to take his cues from as he acts. I think he does a phenomenal job in this.
I've got some facts about this here, Dave. There were 4 ways of filming Sam. One was to use a body double, as you mentioned, acting alongside Sam. 2 was to film Sam doing one half of the conversation with a static camera, and shoot again doing the other half with the camera in the same place. 3 was to use a robotic camera capable of following the same path multiple times to the same schedule, shooting the scene twice, then putting them together in post-production.
Yeah, they're superimposed.
Yeah, and the other, removing or replacing bits of Sam as and when appropriate. 4 was a mixture of the previous 3 to allow one Sam to touch the other.
So yes, there's still quite a bit of, it's still a technical bridge for them to cross. I mean, but I think it looks fairly seamless, don't you?
It does, yeah. It's brilliant. As we said, was it $5 million budget, this film?
Yeah,
so,
peanuts.
To make any sci-fi film, I mean, you don't think of that sort of money. You think 10 times that.
But then this doesn't have to be massive and splashy, does it? I mean, it hasn't got the big explosions and big starships and stuff. It just has to be a practical, blue-collar, grubby, out-of-the-way working mining station on the moon, or a harvester station, because that's all it is. It's got 1 crew member plus a robot. It doesn't need to have a massive and extravagant budget and all the rest of it. But like I said earlier, for what they actually put into it, I think it still looks credible. And you have to remember as well that they were also trying to pay respect to realism. That if such an outpost did exist, this would be how it would actually look, and not like the lunar base looked in Space 1999 or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Or in Moonraker, for example. This appeared in Entertainment Weekly's list of 50 films you have never seen in 2012. So it is a hidden gem, really.
You've never seen?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I can vaguely remember it being talked about at the time it was released. I mean, I'm a bit like you. I didn't get a chance to see it at the cinema. It probably is something I would have watched, but I didn't get a chance to see it at the cinema. And I think the first time I saw it was on terrestrial television. I think it was on Film 4 over one Christmas or something a couple of years ago when it was first broadcast. And that was the first time I got to sit and watch it, and I enjoyed it the first time. And I've enjoyed it on consecutive viewings since. I mean, I think the last time I viewed it was Thursday last week in preparation for this show.
I think it is a bleak film, but space is bleak, isn't it? And the ending gives us a little bit of hope, I think. And, it's a positive ending, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, some of my notes here, I've got the director described the lack of romance in the moon as a location, citing images from the Japanese lunar orbiter Selene. It's the desolation and emptiness of it. It looks like some strange ball of clay in blackness. Look at photos and you'll think that they're monochrome. In fact, they're not. There simply are no primary colours. Joan made reference to the photography book Full Moon by Michael Light in designing the look of the film. So it's certainly well researched in terms of the colour palette and the landscape, and also, I think the way the lunar landscape, reacts to both Sam Rockwell when he's out in his spacesuit or in one of those sort of utility buggy things trundling, or even the harvesters trundling across the surface of the moon, in that it's kicking up the lunar dust or regolith, the lunar soil in effect, if you want to call it that, and it's bouncing about the rocks and stuff. It really does, to me, feel like a real and dynamic environment.
Yeah, and it feels like a job, like you said, a mundane job, similar to somebody working on an oil rig, going about their daily chores. And that impression that we build up and sort of get to know the character for his dedication and, his workmanship until the crash. So
yeah.
What about Chesney Hawkes? I mean, to our overseas listeners, he might not be well known, but obviously
I am the one and only.
Yeah, which is ironic since it's a clone saga, So I thought that was quite good. I don't know if he's a friend of Duncan Jones, but it was quite strange to hear sort of a well-known one-hit wonder from the 90s or 80s?
I don't know. He's a character from history, like so many from around that era. I choose to forget. If I could rewrite history, he's another one along with Gary Barlow. I would like erase out of it. Yeah, I mean that's just on his alarm clock, isn't it? Perhaps it's a nod to the generation of people that Duncan Jones thought would be watching the film. Is it Walking on Sunshine they're playing? He keeps playing on the radio and dancing to.
That's right, and that was something to do with the film Sunshine, wasn't it? Danny Boyle. Yeah, it was a dig at Danny Boyle's film Sunshine. That's
okay.
But
isn't he irritating though when he keeps turning that back on when he's trying to talk to him?
Yeah.
In all fairness, I'd want to punch him at that stage. You'd let him get away with it a couple of times.
But as you said, David, it is a well-researched film because the idea of mining the moon for helium-3 came from a book by Harrison Schmitt entitled Return to the Moon.
Do you know who Harrison Schmitt was?
No, tell me.
One of the last Apollo astronauts.
All right.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't the commander that went down in the module. He was the second guy, like the Buzz Aldrin type guy. But he was on the very last Apollo mission. I think was it 17?
Yeah.
That actually landed on the moon, and he was also the only astronaut that NASA landed on the moon who was not a former Navy or Air Force or test pilot background. He was actually a trained civilian geologist.
Wow.
I think that also makes Moon credible in that you believe it's kind of technology or within human technical or scientific capability to do that now. Like you say, it's finance that holds it back. But if somebody did find an energy source on the moon, like helium-3, and as in that opening narration, that helium-3 was then capable of providing 70% of Earth's natural energy resources, all of a sudden you would have that financial incentive to make it happen.
Yeah, and it's something China are really looking into at the moment. I'm reading up on this film. The Chinese are thinking about doing it in the next 2 years.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a moon race on again as well, which is cool because there was never any of the Apollo missions in our lifetimes. They ended in the early 70s. One of the private companies, private space corporations in America, is planning to send 2 paid passengers out to orbit the moon, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Is it Space Dragon or someone like SpaceX or one of these type of sort of, aviation type Bill Gates type companies, sort of Burt Rutrand sort of pioneer type companies is planning to do it. So, I mean, there is a bit of a craze looking at the moon again now in terms of exploration and planting flags, I guess.
Yeah, Richard Branson is definitely one who's going up into space, he says, this year.
Yeah.
But not to the moon, but just into space. So.
Well, he's got his own suborbital spaceship thing, isn't he?
Yeah.
One that keeps crashing and killing test pilots.
Yeah, that's the problem. But how many have passed on in the last 100 years, I guess, looking into getting into space or into the sky? So.
Well, it's true. I mean, it has come at a cost of human life as human exploration, I guess. I guess we need to get back to Moon. Why do you think Moon is a hidden gem? Why don't you think it wasn't better discovered by the mainstream?
Okay, I think because it's Liberty Films UK, isn't it? Distributed it, as you say, probably with some lottery funding or Film 4 or something like that got it off the ground. And I think that as it was a British film, maybe it didn't really, maybe in the United States where we need films to be successful, it didn't really interest people. It didn't have big explosions or aliens or, it wasn't the end of the world. It does look like, it's a character piece, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a very intellectually provocative film. I can't ever remember at the time it come out reading in the newspapers or seeing a trailer for it or anything like that. Where I remember hearing about it at the time it came out was on Mark Kermode's film show on it used to comes out on Friday afternoons, and I used to download the podcast to that and listen to that, and I remember hearing him talking about it when he reviewed it at that time. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even have known it had been made. It was completely below my radar, and I'm kind of the sort of guy that would be on the scout and constantly have eyes and ears open for something like this coming out.
Yeah, I was the same. I think, obviously, I read Empire magazine, so it got favourable reviews, and I always read several reviews before going to see a film, but overall, it just, on IMDb, it's 7.9, and I think, people will give it a similar score if they went to see it today.
Yeah. Plus, also, obviously, it's not a splashy sort of film that's going to be easily digestible, perhaps for a mainstream. Perhaps it's more for somebody who wants more of an emotional reward. Emotionally, what is your favourite part of Moon? What part of it really hits your heartstrings and tugs at you when you watch it?
I think it's a gradual realisation, and it's just when the penny drops, and that for me is, it just really, it sort of makes me feel like he's insignificant in a way, although he wants to mean something to himself. I want to be important to other people, but obviously you're just another cog in a machine. So yeah, just seeing that on his face and the way the character grows as he realises he hasn't got too long left.
Yeah. For me, it's not such a gradual thing. I think it's in an individual scene. It's when they plan to take the older Sam out to die in the crashed rover.
Yeah.
And they're trundling out there in the other rover, and he's sat next to him, and they're talking about, I think it's Tess, the wife back on Earth, who died many years earlier, 15 years earlier, whenever it was. And they both have a laugh about it because they were both implanted with the same memories of her, and it's that memory they talk about, a common frame of reference. They both talk and giggle, and the dying one doesn't die, but he loses consciousness, and it's that point that the recently revived Sam puts his helmet on. And I think it's Clint Mansell's solemn score as you see him carrying him towards the other rover to put him in there and closing the hatch, because you realise kind of how final that is. Yeah. And you realise that in that rover going out to the harvester, both of those incarnations of Sam Bell must have realised how final that is. And I think it is quite an emotional moment. It's quite a difficult moment to watch.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a tearjerker. I didn't get choked up like I did with Interstellar, but yeah, certainly you realise their predicament when you see it on their faces. And have you seen the director's cut of this?
No.
There is one out there. What have I got here? Yeah, $15 million is what I've written down. Because just before Sam leaves for Earth, he's carrying a cylindrical object. In the director's commentary, Duncan Jones reveals it contains helium-3. Selling it would give Sam enough money over 3 years to live on Earth.
Now, you could see that in the cut that was on television.
Yeah.
I thought it was an oxygen cylinder he was just taking with him just in case.
No, so that was the helium-3. So.
Something he could crack open if his own supply ran out, or plumb into his own suit if that ran out, or something like that, like a reserve. That's what I thought it was. But you're saying it's helium free. It's helium free.
Yeah, so he's gonna flog it on Earth and live it up
like the black market?
Yeah, so...
How do you think that works? I mean, because that shuttle thing's automated, it's fired and coasts to Earth over 3 or 4 days or what have you. I mean, I guess it re-enters the atmosphere at some point and it's recovered from somewhere. I mean, whether it comes down on a parachute or quite how that happens, I don't know. I mean, they don't really elaborate on that, do they?
No.
Just that it's fired off into space towards Earth. But you imagine that cargo must be pretty valuable.
Yep.
So you imagine there's some sort of recovery team that basically fishes them out of the Pacific or picks them up in the middle of the Gobi Desert or wherever it comes down, like you say, helicopters straight away and stuff to recover it. I want to see the sequel where they open it up and Sam Rockwell jumps out and goes, "Surprise, you didn't expect to find me in here."
Yeah, as you say, he would have to get out pretty sharpish and sort of hide himself away, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, just chuck the helium-free canister at them and run. He also throws that big yellow thermal suit thing in the canister as well. Not the canister, in the capsule thing that fires back to Earth, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I guess he figured he'd be getting cold on the way.
Well, yeah, that's true. The coldness of space. The 4 harvesters, did you know the nicknames for them?
Is one Matthew?
And the other 3?
Michael?
No, Mark, Luke and John.
Oh, right.
Yeah, after the 4 books in the New Testament.
Yeah. I thought he was going to say 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Pretty similar. Screenwriter Nathan Parker said it's just he needed 4 names. There's no particular symbolism at all, connected. One thing that really puzzled me after watching Moon a couple of times, what about the ping pong table?
Yeah,
Who's he play with?
Perhaps Gertie has a bat.
You never know, do you?
Gertie's a bit of a funny, dysfunctional design, isn't it? Because it runs around the base on that sort of overhead gantry thing, doesn't it? Like a sort of slung under a rail, I imagine it.
Yeah.
And that kind of sort of skittles around Serang base on that gantry or that track, whatever you want to call it, like an upside down monorail, whatever it is. And it's kind of, its arms separate to itself, isn't it? That's kind of running on a track. So you imagine that Gertie could be off in another part of the station while its arms performing a function elsewhere, kind of wirelessly and around, don't you? Perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps Gertie's off maintaining another part of his station, but it leaves its arm behind to play ping pong against Sam or something. Or perhaps he just puts a board up to bat the ping pong ball off, like the rebound from it or something like that, perhaps.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's certainly an intelligent machine. What else have we got? The film is set in 2035. And for Duncan Jones' next film is called Mute, and it's a homage to Blade Runner, and it's set in the same universe as Moon, and it's a different, unrelated story set in Berlin, where obviously David Bowie spent a lot of time. It describes his next film as a love letter to Blade Runner. Sam Rockwell has agreed to a small cameo as the original Sam Bell.
Okay.
The film is currently titled Mute. And it does contain an epilogue, apparently, to Sam Bell.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. So it might be interesting to see if the clone will be in this one.
Well, I mean, a degree of continuity, but it does sound like it's going to be very much a different vessel kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny what you said about it being scientifically a credible film. I mean, I've got some notes on its reception from the scientific community. And Moon was screened as part of a lecture series at NASA's Space Center Houston at the request of a professor there. He'd been reading online that we'd done this film about helium-free mining. And that's something that people at NASA are working on, says Jones. We did a Q&A afterwards. They asked me why the base looked so sturdy, like a bunker, and not like the kind of stuff they are designing that they are going to transport with them. I said, well, in the future, I assume you won't want to continue carrying everything with you. You want to use the resources on the moon to build things. And a woman in the audience raised her hand and said, I'm actually working on something called Mooncrete, which is concrete that mixes lunar regolith and ice water from the moon's polar caps. So, yeah, I mean, it does have a degree of scientific credibility.
Well, and you can see a lot of this quick fix cement that they can make now. And a lot of sort of houses can be made really quickly with this. You make blocks from this cement, don't you? And it can be within days. You've got a full house, really.
Yeah.
And it's cheap as well. So yeah, it sounds like an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
There's another, I think, from the same seminar that you mentioned there. When shown to NASA scientists who questioned why harvesting of the HE3 would not take place on the near side of the moon rather than the dark side of the moon, because HE3 is more in abundance on the light side of the moon, as we know it. The explanation Duncan Jones gave was he made to harvest on the far side of the moon so he wouldn't affect the wildlife.
Yeah, dear. That's good enough.
Yeah, what about, we talked about Sam Rockwell and Kevin Spacey. They're the two main ones. We've got Tess Bell. She's been in The Guards, House of Cards, The Life Tycoon. Not many people I know. There's some British actors, like Benedict Wong, who's Thompson. He's been in The Bill. So, he is a British actor.
Everyone's been in The Bill.
Everyone's been in it, as well as Sunshine and Prometheus and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And most recently, I saw him in Doctor Strange, but he's good in it. And you know what? What did you say the base was called? It begins with S, doesn't it?
Sarang Station.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Korean dialect in this. And Duncan Jones says it was because he was dating a Korean lady at that particular time. And
there's a lot of Korean sort of I guess you'd call it font writing on the walls. It's like all the writing and the numbering throughout the various modules and the stations, and even on the side of the lunar rover thing and the harvests and that. It's not only is it in English, but it's also in some form of Oriental, I guess, like you just alluded to, Korean script down the side.
Yeah.
So yeah, it certainly does that. I know Moon picked up awards, but it was like Best British Film, and I think it came out well in like the Saturn Awards as well, which are sort of an award that's always going to recognise something like Moon very well anyway. There is some talk that Sam Rockwell was robbed here at the Academy Awards.
Did he get nominated for this, though?
I'm not 100% sure if he got nominated, but I know there was some discussion that some people, and I don't know, I'm on the fence about it, think he probably should have been, based on the fact that he was acting against himself and his portrayal, and the fact that he had to do a range of emotions and a range of characters basically within one person.
And it's famously, the Academy likes people who make drastic changes to their body over an hour and a half, 2 hours, isn't it? And I mean, when we look at the aging clones and, how he has to play different ages as well as different sort of characteristics, as you said, the young and the old, that kind of thing.
It was the typical Academy snobbery, sci-fi, dismiss it, move along. Oh, budget of next to nothing, dismiss it, move along. Now, if there's some sort of historical reenactment about two French onion farmers in a field and it's done stylistically in monochrome, they'll probably chuck everything at it.
I think I've heard of that film.
Have you?
Yeah, that's Charlotte.
Well, how did you hear about that? Were there a few leaks on set?
It was just Chive talking.
Oh, dear.
He knows his onions, Dave, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, he won BAFTA for Best Outstanding Debut for a Director.
Yeah.
And I guess being recognised by your British peers is, for your first major film, I think it's probably enough for Duncan Jones.
To me, that would be more important than the Academy Awards, their acknowledgement, because I think I'd feel that their say had more credibility anyway, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the Academy Awards, I think, is very political. I think there's a lot of industry insider, I'm not going to say corruption, perhaps leverage and pressure, expectations, and then they'll go and honour something that's completely left field just to try and make it look like they've got some sort of critical credibility. And I do think sometimes they miss gems, and I think perhaps Moon should have had something.
I've got an interesting connection. Have you seen Source Code, which is the next film Duncan Jones did?
No.
It's Jake Gyllenhaal who plays an injured soldier, and every day he wakes up and he's on a train with a girl, and basically they can put him into the memory to try to find a bomber of a train.
Right.
Interestingly, the mobile phone ringtone is Chesney Hawkes, the one and only. So there's a little link, I guess, that Duncan Jones has put there between the two movies.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to try and get that into as many of his productions as possible?
Yeah, I guess he couldn't squeeze it into my Warcraft.
Yeah.
Not that I've seen it. I don't really want to see it, to be honest. I don't know. What's your take on clone films then, Dave? Can you think of any more?
I can't think of any that are done, I think, better than Moon is. I think Moon... Yeah, I think it's a good vessel because it's an artificial construct, and you can work on the premise that they have a limited life expectancy to 3 years, etc., etc. And because every clone is identical, it's got the same DNA, the same makeup, it will deteriorate at the same rate. They can guarantee it will be 3 years under certain circumstances. I think this uses the concept well. It's not a new concept, though, is it, of the clone in films and stuff? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I was a big Spider-Man fan in the 80s, 90s, and there was a clone saga that came out of that, went on and on and on, and it drove a lot of fans away because, you know, you wanted one Peter Parker, one Spider-Man. So clone as a story, I think, is always a good get out. You always think, well, how the hell did they do that? And then, oh, actually, it was a clone. You know, it's such a cop out in some ways. It isn't in this because it's the way they've dealt with it on like an industrial scale, that this guy's a worker and doing a job and he'll be back every 3 years we get a new one. So, I mean, The Prestige, the Christopher Nolan film, that was a good clone film. Never Let Me Go, that was a good clone film. And to some extent, we could argue, like you said earlier, Blade Runner is kind of like a clone film, isn't it? I mean, replicants, you know, they were built to last a certain amount of time to do a job.
More human than human. I mean, ethically, cloning, if it's an intelligence, it can become sentient, it can feel, it can become emotional, and therefore ethically it's wrong to do it if you're going to do something like that and muck about creating life and then extinguish that life, because nobody has a right to do that. I like Moon in the fact that, yes, cloning, and there's that chamber underground, and there's hundreds of sandbells in that chamber, you know, it's just a 9 to 5 thing. One gets vaporized, one gets woken up. But the film still feels very much like it is just two of them, and it's two characters. And I think if you had hundreds of sandbells running around in this film, millions of them or whatever, it wouldn't work. But I think it's fine as it is. That it gives you the premise of cloning is enough. You don't need an army of these people. It's a very intimate and it's a very small, I guess, almost claustrophobic story.
Yeah, I think that sums it up nicely.
Yeah, so I guess we need to give it marks out of 10.
Okay, I'll go first then. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10.
Yeah?
8 out of 10. It's a film I'll come back to again and again, and I think I will take something away from it each time.
Yeah.
And if it's on Film 4 in the UK in the evening, I would definitely put it on and watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, it was on over Christmas, and I Sky Plussed it over Christmas, thinking that one day I'll be doing a showcase on it.
And
I finally got around to watching it, that recording I made of it, in the last week, so it had all turkey commercials and stuff in the advert breaks. The worst of it was Gary Barlow kept coming up and singing in adverts for Sainsbury's or Waitrose, whoever it was. So all these things linked together like an Easter egg. Speaking of Easter eggs, there is an Easter egg in the specific album art for this particular episode of Hot Wampa.
Oh, right, yeah.
You've got to look at it to see it, though.
Okay.
So I'll throw that one out there and see who picks up on it. There's an image in there, and we've already mentioned in the podcast what that image came from, although we haven't mentioned it in relation to the album art.
I have to commend you on your recent album art's always been good, but recently there have been some really good ones. I think we've got that, the nice frame now, Dave, and you sort of managed to get it spot on every time. So
yeah, I mean, there's variations on the theme we can do with that. I mean, I came up with a template there basically to save me time, because it was taking a lot of work to knock something up new every time, and if I've got a template there, I can just make variations of the theme within that template. I guess I better give Moon a score, really.
Yeah, please do, yeah.
I'm going to give it a solid 9.
9, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a good film. I mean, for you to give a film 8, I mean, I know a film's nothing poor if you'll give it an 8. Yeah, I think so. Should we move on to some local news?
Yeah, I can't wait. Let's go.
Yeah. Previously in local news. Nudists swimming in Eden.
Like a birthmark.
This is no joke.
Next you'll be on strokes. The contest monster. Anyway.
Okay, as you're well aware, previously our friends from the Mildenhall Naturist Swimming Club visited Ely because they had to, because I think their own pool was closed or something like that. It's made quite a splash, that story, hasn't it?
Oh, Yes.
So
it wasn't a drop in the ocean anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the spray flew from this one. This one's from the Ely Standard newspaper website, published 10th of April 2017 via the mighty John Elworthy, who's given us more than one local news story. Mildenhall residents, including American visitors, hit back after artist causes a storm. I wish they'd written causes a splash over naturist swimming switch to Ely. A tongue-in-cheek letter critical of the decision to allow naturists to use an Ely swimming pool. Why, how many have we got there? Hundreds of them.
Well,
they're like Sam Bell, they're all over the place.
We got the King's School that we used to climb over the railings to get in, didn't we?
Have they got their own pool?
They've got their own pool, yeah. That's a nice little pool.
Yeah.
Obviously, where I know we talk about
Something tells me that's probably been swimming naked before.
Well, I can't confess, Dave. But the cinema complex we got just over the road, really, from where we live. There's a swimming pool being built over there, but it's not going to be open for another year or so, is it? So.
No. The decision to allow naturists to use in the Ely swimming pool has provoked an angry reaction in Mildenhall, where the club is usually based. Paradise Pool Ely has hosted the first of 3 sessions in April and May, organised by the Mildenhall Naturist Swimming Club, as you'll all be familiar with from the last episode of Hot Wampa and Local News. Malcolm Borer, club chairman, said it's both good for you and fun, nothing's better. But Ely artist Mack Mathod caused a storm. I wish they'd written splash there again, actually, word to their editor, when he wrote that my wife and I and many of my friends are not nudists and would be very upset if this kind of thing becomes a regular event. It may be good enough for Mildenhall with their population of Americans. I'm quoting this guy, this is not my views, so I know we have American listeners, we'll be discussing all this in a minute. Or even Newmarket with the rich horse racing fraternity. But this is Ely. Fearing it could be the start of a nudist slippery slope, he wondered what might come next. So are we, because we'll be talking about it in local news. However, his views have not gone down well in Mildenhall, where a Facebook community group is awash with criticism. One lady wrote, as an American, let me say this, Americans are some of the prudish people on the planet. I can assure you that the American population would be pretty unhappy about a nude pool. Another woman wrote, oh, for goodness sake, people need to get a grip and a life. I'm sure this won't be an open session and only available to those who really want to attend with full knowledge. It's the staff I feel for who will be providing pool support. I'm not a nudist, but know several, and they are all very considerate people. A further comment noted that the author certainly doesn't know Americans very well and obviously doesn't understand live and let live. Some, of course, could see the funny side, noting that a nudist slippery slope sounds like it could be a tad dangerous and uncomfortable. A male member
Oh no, this is on the slide.
of the Mildenhall Club joined the debate, telling the letter's author to come on, buddy, wise up, you sound narrow-minded. The best advice probably came from the contributor to the debate, who thought there was nothing wrong with that at all. If you're not a naturist, you don't go. Simple. Mr. Mack, meantime, is likely, and I think this is probably the crux of Mr. Mack's comments here, is likely to be enjoying the attention of his off-the-wall observations have attracted. On his website, he describes himself as being an absurdist all my life. In the 70s, I worked in absurd performances all over the country. I am actively and continuously reassigning the absurd, the meaningless and ridiculousness, once a staple diet of 60s creativity, in an attempt to reintroduce that mindset into 21st century art forms. Have you ever heard of Mr. Mack Mathod?
Yeah, and I read the very letter in the paper, when it came out, after following up our story.
Yeah.
And looking at people's comments on Facebook, many people have said, well, this guy he likes provoking response, and that is part of his art. So I think he should be taken lightly, and I think he just wanted to. It almost sounded like a Viz letter, didn't it? Like a letter.
One of sexist or something.
Yeah, just one of those absurd letters you get in Viz, when the readers have written something. So
I've never heard of Mack Mathod, but since this storm came up, as they're calling it a storm, I think personally it's a storm in a teacup.
Well, at least a shower.
A splash in the pool. I've never heard of him, but I have heard of him now, and I wonder if he's just put something controversial, slightly controversial out there, just to get people talking about him. I mean, he's picking bones, he's inventing stereotypes, and he's deciding to pigeonhole different groups of people. Let's go through the people he's having a crack at here. it may be good enough for Mildenhall with their population of Americans. So is he suggesting that Americans are all pro-nude swimmers?
He's aiming that one, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think that they're probably not a lot different in their mindset to us here. I think some of them are probably quite conservative and wouldn't be so for of it. Probably some of them are probably quite open-minded and think, well, it ain't hurting anybody else. Some of them perhaps even do it. But I think to stereotype somebody and saying that Americans are all pro it or something like that is extremely wrong. It's offensive. And I am not going to apologise on behalf of Mr. Mack Mathod to any American listeners. I think that's his thing. We're only quoting what he's saying. So I think he's doing that because he knows he's jabbing someone with a finger and he'll get a response back. The same with the comments about Newmarket. With the rich horse racing fraternity, the rich horse racing fraternity associated with Newmarket mostly doesn't live in Newmarket. A lot of them are oil sheiks. Actually, a lot of the population of Newmarket are actually quite poorly paid people that work within the horse racing industry. Again, having a poke at Newmarket, pigeonholing, stereotyping, and the guy isn't even accurate in what he's saying about people from Newmarket. Then he says, but this is Ely, so are we to assume that he's claiming that we are all ultra-conservative and likely to be offended by us? Because I think when we discussed this before, our response to it was live and let live. They're not really harming anyone. That's up to them, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's kind of genuinely probably how most people around here feel about it. There'll be a few people on the extremes who may be offended. There may be a few people on the extremes who are pro it. I think most of us are just pretty indifferent about it.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I think this guy has gone into character as like a pompous Monty Python style character, you know, just thinking, I'm going to write a letter here in that manner and just try to get some response. And it's certainly created a lot of, conversation about it.
Well, it is. It's almost designed to poke somebody, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sure the Ely Standard, they've got a lot more sort of readers picking it up and having a look since.
Yeah, I mean, I think his wording is extremely poor. I think it could be interpreted as offensive. I think he makes assumptions and stereotypes that are not strictly accurate. I think he's just trying to get himself a bit of a name, and, that's all he's trying to do, get himself a bit of publicity.
He's another Will Law.
He's an idiot, frankly. Actually, I'd like to... That's my thing. I mean, Mr. Mack Mathod, if anyone ever gets to talk to him or he can hear me, I think you're an attention-seeking idiot. In fact, I might even write to the Ely Standard and say that we've called you an idiot in our podcast, because then that gives us some publicity and perhaps we'll get a few more downloads.
That's a good idea.
But then that's me reducing myself to his methods. So I'll just, we'll keep it between us and the listeners that this guy's an idiot. I hope he's not a listener. I hope nobody knows him that he is. No, seriously though, I think it's extremely poor what he's done. I think it's in poor taste. I think it's inaccurate. I think he makes accusations, pigeonholing and stereotyping. And I think he's just milking it.
Well, maybe he knows somebody at the Ely Standard and said, for a joke, could you put this in the paper for me? And perhaps he didn't feel it was going to go as far as it has. I don't know.
Well, you can't say... What? Oh, yeah. You can't pigeonhole and stereotype Americans. There's 300 million of them. It stands to reason one of them's going to have a crack back at you, and they're right to do it.
I can see Joseph Campbell booking a flight right now from Oklahoma.
Well, if Joseph wants to, I'll give them this guy's Facebook. Let's get him spammed, and because, like I said, I think the guy's an idiot. So but he hasn't particularly insulted me, or has he insulted me? I mean, but he's saying fraternity, but this is Ely. So is he saying that I'm a specific way because I'm from Ely?
I don't think so. I think what he means by he's like the King's School, cathedral, this sort of image that Ely get on the day trip over here as tourists, not the everyday folk.
Really?
Who live in the suburbs around the city centre.
Oh, what? Yeah, that's an everyday image. It's not exactly High Barnes or Rabbit's Way or Prize Court or Ely College, is it?
He wouldn't survive down there, would he?
Exactly. I have absolutely no idea who this guy is, and, I hope nobody gives him any credibility. What are your thoughts on the ongoing Nudist-Gate controversy anyway?
Like you said, I mean, I'm indifferent to it. It's not something I'm going to take up until I go a bit further south.
But like myself, I don't think you're particularly offended or bothered by it either.
No, not at all. And I did read the letter in the Standard, and I sort of raised my eyebrows, but then I did kind of think, well, maybe it's someone playing a prank or, messing about. So,
yeah. I
mean, as you said, nobody's really that pompous in Ely. Nobody. I didn't think anyone would write a letter like that, to the local paper and complaining about it. As you said, if you want to get involved, go down there. If you don't want to get involved, avoid the area at that night.
Yeah, Mack Mathod, I think, will certainly need to avoid Oklahoma in future.
I think he's in for a good Duncan.
And worse, they won't be pulling his car out the ditch. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think he's just trying to get himself some attention. Ely artist in a paper. Oh, we've got an artist in Ely. I think the likes of the extreme left-wing fraternity around Ely, the likes of Will Law, who will attack something for just being American. I mean, he attacked the Arbuckles, which is going in at the leisure complex because it's American themed. Really, it's a matter of choice. I mean, some people, I wish they would get over this kind of prejudice. It's populism. It's populism from the left. I mean, populism's bad enough from the right, but I think there's people on the left that need to take a good look at themselves because they judge and stereotype just as badly. You know, I think it's a sad day. Anyway, let's move on from that because I think we've given Mack Mathod too much of whatever the idiot's name is. Again, this one's from the good old standard, slightly more jovial story. This one's via Ben Jolly, another one of our great, well, he's not really ours, but he's someone that obviously comes up with good stories for us. 2 escaped donkeys were found wandering up and down the car park of Asda in Soham on Friday morning. Police constable Rob Napper, he sounds like a Keystone Cop or something. Hello, it's PC Rob Napper here. What's going on here then?
I wonder what his son's called.
Oh,
Kidnapper.
Unless he's found asleep on the job, in which case they'll call him Catnapper. I'm going to have to call this one in, sir. A little bit of horseplay in the Asda car park. Am I stereotyping now? Anyway, Plod, Rob Napper, had an unusual end to his night shift when he found the donkeys who belonged to Park Farm in Little Downham. Now, this is Asda and Soham, yeah?
Yep.
The donkeys belong to Park Farm in Little Downham.
Quite a long way.
It is a long way. How did 2 donkeys make an exodus all the way from Little Downham to Soham without being seen?
That's quite appropriate. Easter weekend, you know, Exodus, donkeys. It's all coming together here, Dave.
Biblical, Christian, the nativity is more Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm still curious about how 2 donkeys decided to walk from Little Downham to Soham and weren't. So there's a book in this.
There is.
It's like a Disney movie as they've sort of travelled across country, catch a ride on a train, escape the evil homeowner who lures them in with carrots and chases them off with a stick. I think there's a story in this. I'd like to know these donkeys' names, actually.
I would like to write the story, but I wouldn't want to make an ass of myself. So.
Oh. Anyway, PC Napper again. Hello. The donkeys were very well behaved, neither drunk nor disorderly. Well, I don't suppose they stopped on the way for a pint. I mean, I know it's a fair old walk they had on their pilgrimage across the Holy Fens to the crypt of the Asda car park in Soham, and clearly well cared for. Well, they were obviously well exercised. We can reassure even local residents that no harm was caused, and the escapees were collected very quickly once the farm was notified. Oh yeah, can you imagine that phone call? Can't find your donkeys. No, you won't, because they're in Asda car park in Soham.
And it would be pretty hard to come and pick them up, wouldn't it? You can't just put them in the back seat.
Yeah, put the seat down, have it sticking out of the boot. Yeah, well, walk them back, they walk there. They'll think twice about doing it in future then, won't they?
Yeah, as a lesson.
We're grateful to Park Farm for their swift response to our call. I should think they were flapping themselves. Should they wondered where on earth their donkeys were. They couldn't find them. The last place they thought they were going to be were an Asda car park in Soham. A police spokesman posted on the Facebook page, Policing East Cambridgeshire. PC Napper had finished his paperwork on time. He'd been in the toilet then. And assumed that he would finish his duty on time.
Oh, duty.
We all know what happens when we assume. The 2 donkeys had escaped for a spot of early morning shopping and enjoyed a wander up and down Clay Street. I think you've seen that story as well, haven't you?
Yeah, it's an amusing one.
Do you think it literally was they just escaped and walked all that way, or do you think there was some horseplay involved in this?
Oh, well, as you said, maybe they did stop at the Nag's Head on the way and had a few sherbets and thought, oh, let's go for a walk to Soham.
Is there a Nag's Head in Little Downham?
I don't think so, no. There's the plough on the
so they went even further than I thought then, because I thought that was in Peckham. There's one out near Peterborough.
What, Nag's Head? Yeah, there's quite a few. It's quite a popular pub name, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, I mean, how much? Would that be like 9 miles to Soham, something like that?
As the crow flies or the donkey trots, I guess so.
Yeah, from Little Downham, I guess it would be. It's quite a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not an easy route either, because if they're going off-piste, you know, how would they get there?
I don't know. There must have been some motivation to do it. A bit of carrot and stick. Oh, dear. Well, yeah, that's all I've got on that anyway. Local news. You got anything?
Well, I just read an interesting story yesterday. It was in the Cambridge Evening News.
Uh-huh.
It was Ely is the 3rd most gridlocked city in the whole of the UK.
Oh, I saw this, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't drive myself, so perhaps you could, give me a bit more insight into it. But he says a new study has discovered drivers in the Ely area crawl along at an average of 14.59 miles an hour, half the average speed for the nation as a whole.
Yeah.
It is beaten only by Hereford and Cambridge nearby, which are lowest, 13.73 miles per hour on average.
Okay, yeah, but this isn't taken in the bigger picture, are they? I mean, it's all right to say, compare it to somewhere like Cambridge, which is, 20 times the size of Ely and then some. Ely, you know what I mean, even at those speeds, you've got to get across it in 10 minutes. It ain't that big.
Yeah.
I think this is probably a bit more focal. It's under the microscope at the moment because there are some very bad roadworks and traffic control around Ely. You've got the Debacle, which is the roundabout up near Ely College, between that and the A10 there, when there's traffic light control, and then you're going around it in one lane, you're going around it one way, then you're going around it. And I don't know whether that's something to do with putting amenities, electric, water, gas, or what have you, across to the new leisure complex, just across the roundabout there. But it seems to have gone on for ages. It's been very poorly organised. It holds up traffic quite a lot. And I believe there's one or two other areas around Ely as well, which is suffering from bad roadworks. I mean, I heard the ones up Lynn Road up until recently were quite bad as well. So I think if there is a problem, it's probably currently exaggerated and under the spotlight because of the current infrastructure and development that's going on as such.
Yeah, there's a quote here from Ely florist Rob Stead, who's 51. He said, "It's a problem and it's getting worse. At peak times, early morning and afternoons is pretty rubbish. Weekends you have to be in Ely by 9:30 to 10 a.m. to get a parking space or you're wasting your time. We try and plan so we know not to be in Ely for those peak periods. If I'm delivering in Ely on Saturdays, I will do Ely first, then I know I can go out of Ely for the rest of the day and not have a problem. There are various pinch points on Witchford Road, the Lamb Hotel, and turning into Broad Street."
Yeah, I mean, the Broad Street one is difficult because traffic is often held up sort of towards the station. They're coming from Soham Stuntney way because of the crossing and what have you, or then you'll get an idiot wedge your van under there, and there's a number of factors that kind of bottlenecks and clogs that up sort of 4 to 6 o'clock at night. Plus you've got traffic coming from the away from the roundabout. It's always that time of day people pop into Tesco's and do a little bit of shopping on the way home. So you've got traffic in and out of Tesco's as well. I think that area, there's a variety of factors coming into sort of Broad Street itself that cause a problem. Also think that Broad Street is one of the most inappropriately named streets in the United Kingdom because it is anything but broad. I mean, I don't know if we've got any listeners that live down there, but I've clipped a few wing mirrors going down there once or twice sneaking through, and I don't particularly have a big car. It's a normal family car. It's not a people carrier or anything. I don't know, it is bad. I think there is more traffic than maybe a decade ago or something like that, but I also think it's, like I said, it's currently exaggerated because of the amount of roadworks and the fact that those roadworks themselves are quite poorly planned, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, and a councillor is quoted on here, what's his name? A councillor, Mike Rouse, said he believes Ely is a medieval city with narrow streets not designed for modern-day traffic flow. Our towns were never planned with the car in mind. A fact of life is that in a rural area like the Fens, we need our cars, and Ely is a market town for a large catchment area.
I don't know. I mean, you're a pedestrian. I mean, obviously, you're not driving on the roads, but you've still got to cross the roads. You're a cyclist as well. Do you think the traffic is denser now?
But, I mean, the thing is with the traffic in Ely, it's not going to be for very long, is it? We know that. There are certain periods of the day where it's, like every town or city, you're going to get a rush hour or peak periods, and it disperses quite quickly in Ely. I mean, we could probably walk out there tonight and, wouldn't see a car driving towards us for 5-10 minutes, It's dead out there tonight, so.
Yeah, well, it's a bank holiday Sunday evening. You don't expect there to be a lot of traffic about.
No.
I mean, there's another one. If you want to, why don't you try driving into Ely at the same time an England match is being played or something like that, because you'll find the roads are dead.
Yeah.
Because everyone's doing something different. And yeah, of course, the times will always affect traffic. I mean, the hours I work are 7:30 to 3:30. So the hours I commute, I kind of missed the worst of it. I'm into and out of work both times within about 10 minutes. It's not, to me now, traffic isn't a big deal. But when I worked in Newmarket and I finished at Newmarket at 5 o'clock, I had the rush to get out of Newmarket, which could take over half an hour to 3/4 of an hour. a relatively good run through then past Soham, and then on the Soham bypass, A142 coming into Ely up towards the railway bridge there, again, could end up taking me another half an hour. So, I think where you are and the time of day does have an effect, but to me now it doesn't really affect me because, like I said, I'm not working those sort of hours anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a comment at the bottom here from a guy called Mike Kike, and he said, actually, it's because the area has too many people, and another 2,000 houses are promised for Soham, and another 2,000 for Ely. Very little employment, though. Why? So, I don't know, this guy's...
Well, that is a valid point. I mean, I think a lot of people that stand against developments are sometimes accused of being a bit backwards or trying to keep things quaint or the way they were, or they're Luddites somehow, or they're not prepared to accept the modern world, that there's this sort of portrayal that people of that mindset are bigoted. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think sometimes they have a valid concern, and that concern is the transport infrastructure capable of handling X amount, 1,000 more cars a day? Are there enough school places? Do we have adequate police officers, etc., etc.? I think the concern isn't against development or expansion of Ely in terms of housing and people moving in and living here. I think that's great, and it makes a more vibrant community. I think what local people's concerns is that the infrastructure doesn't come with the increase in population to cope with the increase of population. So we need more school places. We need more, either a bigger doctor's surgery or more than one surgery. We need the roads to be more open and things like that. I think that's never taken into consideration. It's just the greed of the developers to get the housing estates up, the greed of the council because they get a bung out of it and more council tax. But nobody ever seems to think about the consequences then for everyone who has to live in that area who doesn't have an improved infrastructure.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Yeah.
It's not that we're small-minded or narrow-minded. I think it's just that we feel sometimes it's not planned out well, if that makes sense.
No, and which is why I think we're championing this new leisure complex, particularly for jobs, and giving young people a chance to get on the ladder and get some kind of job, even if it's just weekend work. I think it's created, 300 new jobs, something like that. So.
Well, our buckles are out the gate and up and running ages ago, it seems like now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Almost a month, I guess.
Yeah, so Will Law hasn't got his wish there. That seems to be flourishing and going. And, we drive all the way to Hunterdon or going to Cambridge to watch a movie. Well, let's spend some of that back in the local economy. Let some of that money go back to employing a local person and improving the local infrastructure. Let those business rates get paid into Ely Council instead of Cambridge or Huntington or something, and then perhaps that will help to contribute towards the improvements that we need if they've got more funds. I mean, I'm all for it.
And we know we're going to see The Last Jedi at Ely, aren't we? Over the roads. And
that's not likely to be my first film I see there.
No, Alien Covenant is the first film they're showing, so we might get a chance to go and see that. Yeah.
Well, if you want to go and view that there, mate, I'll tag along with you.
Yeah, I think we should. It's just over the road.
Yeah, so it's hardly out of our way, is it?
No.
Perhaps they do like a celebrity, like a special screening. Yeah. You and me can be there. The Ely Standard can be there.
That'd be a good idea. Will Law can be there.
Will Law can be there. Yeah,
we can get Mack in there as well.
What's the name of that guy again? That artist?
Was it Mack
Manfred? Mack Mathod. He can go there.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, we can have the two donkeys in the foyer along with hello, PC Napper. He weren't napping that day, was he?
No.
He got them all right.
It'd be like a cast of Midsummer Murders or something like that.
Colonel Mustard.
Yeah, who done it in Ely?
Yeah.
I should have got a photo the other day, Dave, but we went past the McDonald's when we played football on Monday night, and they only had Muck 2. They just had D-O. I should have got a photo of it, so it's not been properly put together yet. Muck 2.
I don't want that. I don't want no do in my bun.
Would you like some Muck 2?
Oh dear, now we're stereotyping, so we need to get out of here. What is it, Guardians of the Galaxy for the next one?
Guardians of the Galaxy, you see, we'll review it. It's on Bank Holiday Monday for us. Obviously, our listeners won't get to see it because it'll be too late. But if you're on DVD, or you've watched it recently, obviously the second one's coming out this year. We'll be discussing that, and we'll be interested in your comments because it is quite a recent film. I'm sure a lot of our listeners will have a little review for us, hopefully, Dave.
Well, maybe you can perhaps get something up onto our social media, giving them the nod that that's coming next and that it's on telly tomorrow.
That's a fine idea. Yeah, I will do that today.
Then if they choose to ignore it, that's up to them. But that's what we'll be doing next, Guardians of the Galaxy. I've not seen that yet, so that'd be my first viewing.
It's good. It's really good fun. So it's, it's a nice film.
Yeah, so we'll look at that. Whatever's happening in the Star Wars world in a fortnight, I'm sure things will calm down for a tad now.
Yeah.
Local news. Who knows, perhaps we've elicited a response by my kind comments about this artist. Hey, I bet he's an artist.
He might come running into Ely Market on a donkey, you never know.
Yeah, bloody artist. First bleep of the episode. Take care, we'll see you in a fortnight.
Cheers, bye.
Oh, shall we put the audio in from the Last Jedi trailer just to close the show?
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, just because people have already heard my commentary on it on that segment earlier, but we might as well close with it. Take care, we'll see you in a fortnight.
Light. Darkness. A balance.
It's so much bigger. One truth.